Hello, now welcome long scope. Inside long this pela episode, by Yumi Bungim Sandy Saka, Chairman belong PNG Rugby League. Mipla story one time Saka long walk belong or same Chairman belong this big play game where plenty people belong PNG is seven like him Thomas. Me Eileen Sokot, na by me stop one time you long this program. Long moon June long this pela year, board ibin marking gen Sandy Saka, all same Chairman belong PNG RFL long number 3 time. Ananid long lookout belong Saka, all same Chairman, come up in pinis, plenty big pela walk, belong develop him game, start long all place, town, na long national level. Now by you harem Chairman Sandy Saka, by serim person na sampela big pela ting na vision bin igat long bring him rugby league go long narapela level.
I think the biggest challenge we had to overcome was the game had disintegrated to a political quagmire. There was differing views and differing conflicts, different personalities and egos. And if anything, that was the first obstacle we had to overcome. For that, I want to commend the leaders at the time, Minister Chachenko, the government, and the different stakeholders in the game that said enough's enough. Let's get together and unite for the good of the game. So the leadership at the time, I think, Mr. John Numapo and Mr. Honorable Gary Juffa now, I think they all came to an agreement that they needed to move on. And without the unity of focus and purpose, we wouldn't have started the foundations for the gains we have made. So in essence, I think the transition was getting the governance structure right, so that it reflected different stakeholders in the game. So at first, when we went in, I think the AGM following the United Front that the Rugby League came together, the AGM in Wabek, we pushed through a lot of reform and constitutional amendments that brought the stability that the game has enjoyed. I think at the AGM in Wabek too, for the first time, we provided a vision that the sport needed. The AGM approved the roadmap that set the plan for the PNG RFL for the next 5 years. So we approved the roadmap, and I think the AGM in Wabek also approved the competition structure. For the first time, there was a competition structure, the 6-tier structure, from the juniors, the under-6 to under-12 Tier 1, and then the schools, and then the leagues, the Digital Cup, the Hunters, and our elite programs, the Comos and the Hunters. So for the first time, everybody knew what their position or what their place in rugby league was, from the grassroots game at the junior level to our elite comms. So I think the key to it was bringing governance stability to the PNG RFL, to the reforms that were passed at the AGM in Wabek, approving a competition structure that told everybody where their place was. Now the leagues in Wabek or the league in Goroka or the league in Bougainville knew what they were supposed to do. Not everybody was, for them to align with the national vision, they knew what they had to do. So the competition structure that we introduced was very important to set the foundation. And I think the third thing was, for the first time, the PNG RFL had a vision. There was a roadmap that said, this is where we have to aspire to, this is where we want to get to. Now, under that plan, we developed the strategies that we needed to achieve to get us to achieve our vision. So in short, I think getting the governance structure fixed, getting the competition structure set, and setting the vision for rugby league has actually allowed all the stakeholders to buy into the vision, and together we, I think, made some of the progress. There have been a lot of gains. The women's game, the Hunters program, the schools program, removing violence from the game, bringing all our partners together. But I believe key among this is the integrity that the PNG RFL has acquired because of those 3 key things: governance structure, the competition structure, and setting the vision that have set the platform for the growth in the last 7 years. The game is blessed with a lot of selfless volunteers, people that week in, week out give their services and time free to the game, expecting no personal reward. The volunteers, the referees, the match officers, the mothers, the brothers, the sisters, they turn up at every sporting venue to support their brothers, sisters, and for the games to run. Without them, the game does not survive. our corporate partners that continue to invest in the game, and we've been privileged to maintain our core group of partners in the last 7 years who have committed to the cause. So without their support, the game, would not be. The partners in government, and it's been acknowledged, the players, the officials, all have, put in together to bring the game where it is, and it's not been easy. There have been many challenges we've had to overcome, and the key among that, and I keep saying, is it's the obstacle that every organization faces. We have unlimited, things to do. The needs are endless. The things that we need to do to improve the game are endless, but we are constrained by limited resources to do those things. The resource challenge has been and continues to be a big handicap to the game and to PNG RFL, because we want to do junior pathways. We want to improve the game. We want to get out there, build the facilities, everything that the game needs to do, but we can only do them based on the resources we have. And by resources, when we say resource in this country, the first thing comes to people's mind is money. It's not so much money, so to speak. Resources include the people, good people that any organization you have. And I just made mention of the volunteers, good partners that are willing to work with you. Not just the sponsors who put in money, but good partners that can add value to the game we do. And time is a resource in itself. While there are many things to do, we are constrained by time. So therein becomes the issue of prioritizing. You need to prioritize what you need to do now and plan that over, however long it is, and deliver things based on the resource envelope you have, so that you can tick off. So there have been many challenges, but the key among them has been the resource challenge, having our stakeholders buy, improving governance structure, and some things we have addressed, like violence. Violence was a thing that affected the game, but we put in the structures to address and mitigate. There continues to be ad hoc violence, but importantly, when they happen, we move quickly proactively to address those. So another key challenge for the sport continues to be facilities. Rugby league is not a sport that is played in air-conditioned office. It's played in sporting venues, and with player welfare and public health issues like the COVID-19 pandemic happening, we need to ensure our facilities are to a standard which can guarantee player safety as well as safety of the public that attend those. And unfortunately, outside of Port Moresby, Lake, Kokomo, Wabeg, and a few places where the government is invested in the facilities, most of our facilities in all of our 60 or more leagues across the country play in facilities that are a public health hazard for the players and ourselves. So we need the support, and that's where the partnership comes in, where PNG RFL partners with local governments and stakeholders in those facilities to invest not just in the facilities but in other infrastructure that are necessary to deliver those things going forward. And those are challenges that we will continue to face going into the future, and with good planning and partnerships, hopefully we can address some of those issues going forward.
By Yumi Kisim Liglik Malolo, na time Yumi come back again by Yumi Harim Siaman I Tok Mo long Sampela Big Pela Walk Bung. No can go yet. Welcome back. Siaman Blong PNG Rugby Football League Sandy Saka by Tok more long Sampela Big Pela Walk come up. Now walk bung one time all stakeholders long strong in Rugby League inside long Tupela term. Emi being stop osem Siaman na Sampela all highlights too.
The results Coach Michael and the boys have been able to deliver on the football field are well documented. But in terms of PNG RFL, there are key milestones that stick to mind, And I mentioned the top, what I consider to be the foundations that set, the three things that set the foundation for the growth of the sport. Number one was the governance and management as reforms and structures that we do. Those are not set in stone. As the situation evolves and changes, we will need to improve on those, but I think the foundations that were set have set the platform for the growth. The second thing is the competition structure. when you run a sport or any organization, you need to have a structure that is aligned from the grassroots to the elite. Our 60-tier structure that we implemented has basically set the structure for our entire football programs, from both the on-field staff to the off-field staff. So that, I believe, has been a key achievement for us. Third thing that we have been able to achieve is, I think, setting a vision. Before you run any organization, you need to plan. The issue about unlimited needs and limited resources can be addressed by prioritizing and planning. So, if anything, I think the roadmap that the PNG RFL AGM approved in 2014 set a platform for the next 5 years that we were able to achieve. The PNG RFL board this year in March approved the 10-year strategic plan. So, from the roadmap that set the course in 2014 to 2019, now this year the PNG RFL has developed the 10-year strategic plan. That 10-year strategic plan charts the course for the PNG RFL for the next 10 years. So in terms of providing leadership, vision and direction, I think those have been key achievements. And consistent with that, I think it's been the integrity, accountability and transparency that we have brought into our management and governance practices. For the first time in 2014, the PNG RFL was able to produce the audited financial statements of the PNG RFL. Prior to 2014 AGM in Wabek, there was no audited financials. They may have had financials, but those may have been unaudited. We had to go back 4 years to restructure or to find some semblance of financial statements, and then by 2014 the records we had presented at the AGM as audited financials were actually restructured documents from ad hoc information that was collected to even audited financials. So from 2014 to the last AGM last week, we have presented 7 audited financial statements of the PNG RFL. And that's why, because we don't have previous AGM records, last week's AGM was set the 7th annual general meeting. So we provided 7 financial audited statements, unqualified all of them, and with 7 annual reports. So in terms of what that does for us, what does that mean? What that means is we have brought integrity, we have brought accountability, we have brought transparency, we have brought international best practice in terms of governance and management to the PNG RFL. What does that do? It gives us credibility and integrity. That's why we are able to attract corporate partners, attract sponsors that stay with us, because they can see that we're accountable. These companies that put in money, they're accountable to their shareholders. And when we're accountable to them, they're able to account to their shareholders. And more so, we have proven that by restructuring ourselves, we show them that our values and what we are doing is actually contributing to national development, and we're trying to align ourselves with their values so that their investment gives them a return on investment. So it's been a general realignment in the way we administer sport in this country, and I'd like to think we've set a blueprint for other sports to follow, and cricket does a wonderful job with that. And between what we do, we hope that other sports can take a leaf out of this, and together we can contribute to using sport as a platform for national development. So the foundations we've set in terms of governance and management, I think, are key to the growth that the sport has gained. That's number one. Number two, we couldn't have done football without the competition structure. It provides a cohesive guideline on how rugby league is played at all the different levels, and how the top relates to the bottom, and how the bottom junior pathways and grassroots game relates to the top. The competition structure for both the men's and women's game has been, I think, has been crucial to this. Number three, again, setting that vision for the sport. There's something that we're working towards. It's not just ad hoc management, managing day in, day out, year in, year out. No, we have a strategic vision that we're aspiring to. And to reach that end goal, our structured programs are delivered. So setting that vision has been key. On the football front, while a lot of things have happened, I think the Hunters program was a very important decision. It has allowed us to, get our elites out from just ordinary park football and bring them to play at an elite level. We have graduated from amateur football to professional football because of the Hunters program. And going forward, what we are trying to do is getting that Hunter system go back to the Digital Cup and go back to the club-led leagues, affiliates down that line. So the Hunters program has been one of the, I think, the foundations on which we have built our Rugby League high performance program going forward. Probably the next thing I'm passionate about is the women's game. I think for a long time, Rugby League was said to be the national sport, but without the participation of the women actively on the field, it was just a national sport in name only. And given the growth of the women's game and where it's going, not to say our women were never involved. Our mothers, sisters were always involved in the game as supporters or in the background, washing uniforms or, cooking. They continue to support us. But to get our girls actively involved in playing the sport, I think is something, because it's happened during my tenure as chairman, something I've been passionate about, and I'm happy to see it continue to grow. And I think if you had to ask me, I ticked us off apart from many things we've done.
Behind long display lik malolo, Chairman Saka by talk out long sampela big pella plan, na look go head long PNG Rugby League. Welcome back. Inside long dispela last pela segment, Chairman Saka by talk out long sampela big pela plan, na look I go pass long PNG Rugby League.
In my other capacity as chairman of the Asia Pacific Rugby League Federation, I'm actually responsible for the international programs for all nations, including Australia, New Zealand, and countries in the Southern Hemisphere. So we've suspended all international programs. Mid-year seasons were suspended, and we deferred them to the end of the year. We were waiting on the two major international competitions, the NRL and the Super League, to come out with their revised calendars. We know the dates on which the NRL calendar is coming out, which is important for us. So the international window for us is the 3 weekends on which the State of Origin is played. So we're working with the NRL. Their final series happens. So after the grand final, when the State of Origin starts, we're looking at a few matches for our international teams going forward. We've put in tentative dates, but again, due to the ever-changing landscape with the COVID-19 pandemic and the virus, it's all also dependent on international travel restrictions and now venue management. Whether crowds will be there, because we can't play games if we're not able to commercialize the games to pay for the games themselves. So there's a lot of moving parts still, but an international window will open up around the State of Origin period, and hopefully in the next a few weeks we'll be able to make definitive announcements around the matchups and the delivery. It'll be a revised program, obviously. Going forward also, we planned for a couple of internationals. Again, they have not been ruled out. The New Zealand tour of Papua New Guinea for both the men and women's. It's still on at this point. We haven't ruled it. Again, it's subject to international travel restrictions and government regulations around public gatherings. So we will be monitoring the situation, and obviously we'll be able to make we would like to make a call before the end of July to give everybody time to plan towards delivering those events around the October-November period. So New Zealand tour to PNG plus the Oceania end of season games, and then the PM Stettin, which is a bilateral between PNG and Australia. It normally consists of the players that are not playing in the NRL final series. So the opportunity to play that game is still there. We haven't ruled it out, but again, it's dependent on international travel requirements and all these things. So we hope we can be definitive around those internationals by July, or at least before the end of July, for planning purposes. Those are important matches leading up to the World Cup next year. If the climate improves, we're looking at maybe a couple of mid-season internationals and trials next year to prepare both the Oil Search Orchids and the PNG RFL Chairman to be well prepared for the World Cup in England. The announcements for the venues where the boys, where the Kumuls and the Orchids will be based was made last week with the 500-day milestone countdown. So we're looking forward to the World Cup, and we have a full international plan planned out, but again, the international pandemic is still a shadow that's hovering over that. So when we're able to have some certainty around international travel and public gatherings in each of these jurisdictions, we'll be able to make some definitive calls. We're extremely grateful to the SOE controller and the SOE team for granting us approval, albeit it's conditional. We have to comply with 2 conditions. But to get that approval was a big tick in the box for us. And, commendations to a lot of the people that work behind the scenes to, prepare that report. We had to get the Apollo protocols from Australia and tailor them to our PNG conditions. And CEO Stanley Ondina, Coach Michael Marum, Dr. Candino, Dr. James Sniper. We had a whole team of people to commend for coming up with the Banis protocols, and to be acknowledged as the only organization in Papua New Guinea to submit the protocol and to get that tick of approval was a vote of confidence in the team and more so the sport. It shows the level of importance the authorities give to rugby league, and more so the confidence they have in our ability and our systems and processes to comply with their recommendations. So it's a vote of confidence for us, and our appeal to our stakeholders is to bear with us as we go through the Banis protocols under the new normal. These are new rules, so that's part of the reason where we restricted the initial 4 rounds of the Digital Cup to only Lae and Port Moresby, so that we can get franchises, the 12 franchises, the team management and the staff and the players to become aware about the new protocols. So after round 4, we're hoping that we can identify a couple of other venues that comply with the minimum requirements in terms of infrastructure and facilities, and if they can show with confidence that they'll be able to manage the oversight requirements of the protocols, then we can slowly take the games out to the other regions. But we're excited to be able to come back with our national comp. We hope that it's not just a sport for entertainment. We hope that through Rugby League and the Digital Cup, we can inspire our people to come back to some normalcy, even under the new protocols, that it can bring back confidence in the economy. It can bring back confidence to a community that, despite the pandemic, we can rise again and rebuild our communities and villages. So to be part of that rebuilding process as a sport, we feel very privileged and very honored, and we look to work with the authorities and our stakeholders across the country to bring back the game and bring back hope to our people across the country.
Chairman blong PNG Rugby Football League Sandy Saka, special guest blong Yumi inside long scope blong display week. Take you through long stop one time mipla, na bungim yupla again long narapela episode blong scope long week behind. Good night through.